All right, folks. Now we're welcoming Senator Sentinel, who is the Missouri Senate's Majority Floor Leader and has represented Northeast Missouri since first being elected in 2018 and then again in 2022. She's the first female to hold the position of Majority Floor Leader in Missouri history. Prior to being elected to the Missouri Senate, Olin was a school bus driver, an administrator at a local Christian school, and a member of her local school board. She previously served as chair of the Senate Education Committee and remains a strong advocate for school choice in Missouri. In addition to her public service, Senator Olin is the former co-owner of a trucking company and ready-mix concrete business with multiple locations, including one in Shelbina, where she currently lives. She has 4 sons, a foster daughter, and 7 grandchildren. Please join me in welcoming Senator Sentinel.
Well, it's a great day in the Missouri Senate. I'm sure glad I have this job. Am I supposed to answer questions or?
You may give any comment, remarks you would like, and then love to have a Q&A.
Okay. I got elected to this position because when I first joined the Senate, never having been in the legislature, I joined the Conservative Caucus. And I joined because I thought, well, you know, we're conservative people and we've raised a family and we've run a business and managed not to go broke. And so maybe some of the things that we, you know, have done and some of my experiences will work with everybody and have good policy. And that is not how that worked out. And so we started out, and it just seemed like it was such a contentious group. And I stayed with it for a while because I thought I'm new. And it's hard when you run your own business and then you come here. And you know, I've sort of been involved on the edge in public policy, but never in here. And I can clearly remember walking, you know, through the halls and being totally ignored and going to talk to a senator and being totally ignored. And it's really weird that I am now where I am. It's very strange, really. Strange progression of events. But anyway, so I felt like the Conservative Caucus was really all about Senator Eigel, to be frank. He wanted to make all the decisions, and I didn't agree with the decisions. And after being in there a while, you know, we start filibustering our own bill. And I thought, something is not working here. And eventually I just said, I'm not going to be a part of this anymore. When you come here, you can have as firm a belief in different things as you want, but everybody here comes from a different background, and everybody here has had different experience in their life. And while I'm I'd probably be described as sort of a farther right person, not everyone is like that. And you can't come here and tell people that you have a great idea and by golly, they're gonna do it, or you're gonna burn the Senate down. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So I got out and tried to maintain good relationships with everyone. And I think I've managed to do that for the most part. And then came an election for leadership. And we had 2 people running, one from sort of affiliated with the Conservative Caucus and one from the other part. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I don't think either one of those people can get elected, because this group will not vote for this guy and this group will not vote for this guy. And I was friends with both people running. So then, you know, after thinking about it, I thought, well, I think I'll run. And here I am. So, you know, I just told people, look, I'll always be honest with you. I'm not the most tactful person that you've ever met. And I'm not a very good political speaker. And I think that there's too much of that here. There's like, yeah, but doesn't mean anything. And I think that people are looking for someone who, first of all, is willing to listen to them. And I spend a lot of time out of my district. I've spent a lot of time around the state, you know, listening to people and looking at things that are happening and trying to understand, well, if we do this, what's going to happen here? And I think that's missing from here. People don't go and talk to the people doing it before they pass a fix. And then the next thing you know, the whole thing is messed up. So, you know, somehow I got to be chairman of education. I've always been interested in education. I think education is kind of stuck in a time warp. I think we have a lot of good teachers, and then we have some not so good teachers. It's like every other thing that you would ever go into. Some people are really good, some people aren't. And it's very hard to change it because people are afraid of what will happen to them. And I try to explain this, particularly to Senator Eigel. And it's hard to imagine, but we still get along, even though he stands out here and says what a horrible leader I am and I need to be replaced. You have to be able to listen to anybody, and you have to be able to put behind you, if there's been a conflict, you just have to let that roll off and move on. And I raised 4 boys, and gosh, that was over a long period of time, because there's like 14 years difference between the oldest one and the youngest one. And you know, if you let them get out of line very far, the next thing, boy, they're running the place. And this is where we're at here. We've been living with this now since I came in. I got elected in 2018, and it has escalated to the point now where people, you know, want to tell you, we're going to tell you what you're going to do, even though they're not in leadership, and it's solely individual, their priority, when you have 34 people here, and that doesn't work very well. And so this year, maybe because I'm where I'm at, I'm like, this is the end. This is the end of us being basically held hostage by what is now called the Freedom Caucus. And they believe in freedom for themselves, but not for anybody else. You know, it's just crazy. This is not how things should work. And I think it's sort of like the rest of the world today, where there's just people, you know, ripping at each other, and no one's willing to listen to anybody else. No one's willing to compromise, and that's kind of where they're at. And that's just not, that's not how that works. And we're not gonna take it anymore. So that's where we're at right now. And they'll bring up an issue playing to, you know, certain supporters, the things that they say they want, you know, we want. But you have to go about it in a way that shows that you respect everyone else in the chamber, that you're willing to listen to them. And, you know, but a lot of the time, the Republicans and the Democrats, I would say 80% of the time, want the very same thing. The path to get there sometimes is where we run into a few snags, but if you're just a decent person and you're willing to listen to people, you can work it out, but you have to want to work it out. And you have to not be so focused on yourself and your next job that you're not willing to do that. And I'm not running for anything else, so when people get mad and they tell me that, you know, they're never voting for me again, I'm like, well, perfect, because I'm never running again. I'm turned out, so kind of my story.
Hey, just a question. Senator Igo on Tuesday night, oh, by the way, I'm Joe McLean, I'm one of those TV people.
That we cut off.
Senator Igo said on Tuesday night that there are 3 groups of Republican senators. There's the Freedom Caucus, he said. There's the side that is part of the Uniparty that is palsing around with Democrats, in his words. And then there's the majority of the Republican Senate is in the middle and are willing to sort of follow whoever comes out on top, is sort of the implication. What's your assessment of that?
He's a very divisive person. I mean, on any given day, on any given topic, someone might say, I agree with this solution over here. And then maybe tomorrow, another topic comes up and they'll be, hey, I agree with this person over here. He wants to present himself as the only true conservative. But that is not true. And, you know, I'm not going to trash other people who might be more moderate than me. I mean, they're, you know, I respect them. They got elected to represent the people that they live around, and it's just not, that's why he's not in leadership.
Just to follow up very quickly, in terms of who presents a greater obstacle to advancing a conservative agenda, in your estimation, is the greater obstacle the Freedom Caucus or the Democratic Party?
Oh. I think that Bill himself is the greatest obstacle. And this is not, I've told him this too. What he has done over a period of time is he will champion a fairly hardcore conservative goal. And then he will go out and has created such bad relationships in the chamber that people who would normally say, okay, you know, maybe I'm not totally on board with that, but I'll go ahead and go with it. They're a hard no now. They are a hard no. So they're basically doing the job of the Democrats, and I like all the Democrats.
Do you expect that you and Senator Robbins' leadership will be officially challenged in this term?
No. No, to tell you the truth, I mean, Caleb has kind of, you know, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Do I agree with everything that he thinks? No. But I mean, I don't agree with anybody all the time. And I think he genuinely wants to get along with everybody. I'm not really like that. I mean, I want people to know that I respect them, and I'll listen to anybody. But there comes a point where if you're going to get anywhere, you have to say, this is enough. It's enough. That's where we're at. So I'm, you know, the first, I mean, we started with a filibuster the very first day, for crying out loud, and a big speech about, you know, how wonderful they are and how terrible everyone else is, and I'm sitting here thinking, this is going to be a great year. It's going to be a long one.
Has anybody had any, like, one-on-one, I'm sorry for monopoly, if anybody else has a question.
Yeah.
Has anybody had any, like, one-on-one conversations with members like, Koenig?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has there been any, I don't know, squishiness in terms of, you know, where the Freedom Caucus is headed?
Well, it's an election year. And I think eventually you'll see that. I mean, I see a little bit of it now. The longer this goes, the harder it's going to get to be an obstructionist while trying to tell everybody outside the building that you would get things done if everyone else wasn't obstructing you. Please print that. Because that's what's happening. Well, we would do this, but everybody in here is a rhino. Just for your information, I think calling anybody a name like that is intellectual laziness. If you want to debate an issue, debate the issue. But, you know, social media, which I use a lot, but I don't use it to trash people. I try to tell people what's going on. And the other part of that is, you know, it encourages people to say all kinds of crazy things. And so,
So what's going on the Senate floor right now is the referral of the bills. It's been something that has been talked about as an offer to let's make some peace. We'll get the bills referred. Is this an olive branch we're seeing on the floor of the Senate right now, or is it just we got to get things going and we're going to do it?
well, Caleb was going to refer all the bills last week. And the very day that he was going to do it, they got up and tied up the floor for about 9 hours. So, it's not an olive branch, we're just trying to get back to the normal course of business. But once we get through that referral of bills, we're gonna bring up the gubernatorial appointments, and they're gonna stand up when that happens. When I went to my seat today for the first time, Bill came in and said, are we going to second reading of bills? And I said, we are. And he said, okay, well, I've got my filibuster schedule already set up if you're gonna try to go to the appointments. I said, well, you just go for it, buddy.
There are some grassroots, Vernon County, St. Charles County, Boone County sent letters. Obviously, you have already said you're not gonna resign, what do you think what's your reaction to the message that's coming from those grassroots organizations?
You don't understand what's going on inside this building.
Was the removal of 4 people from committee posts done to try and freeze them out? Because there are some members of the Freedom Caucus that actually benefited from some of the moves. Ben Brown got committee.
He's not a member.
Okay. Joe
So he
Carter.
got out at the end of the year last year. And truly, they have gone into his district and tried to destroy him. That's how they do.
And Joe Carter wasn't, I mean, was the message to some of them, you can play ball or you can walk from a parking spot far, far away?
That's a message to all of them. If you're a chairman, you have extra money in your budget to do, you know, whatever it is you have to do, because there is extra work. 2 years ago, are you gonna print everything I say here? 2 years ago, I said, you know, with 23 votes, you can throw somebody out of here. And I would do it today.
Who would you throw out?
Bill. I absolutely would. And I told him that.
You would vote to expel him from?
Yes, I would.
Are you gonna make that motion?
I can't, I'd have to have 23 votes. And to get 23 votes, I'll have to get some Democrats to vote for it. And then I'll have to give up something big. So. Everything here is a trade-off, you know? And, there's not gonna be 23 people, you know, right now want to do that. And I know people think, well, boy, that's a radical thing, but look where we're at here. And this has gone on, I mean, if you've covered what happens here for every year, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. It's juvenile. It's terrible. Yes.
So given that, what are your realistic expectations for what gets done? Can we pass a budget?
We will pass the budget.
And what about the FRA?
We will pass the FRA.
What else?
Maybe nothing. You know, what I told Bill, he came to see me yesterday, and he wanted to tell me that he's winning this. And I said, then why are you here? Because you would not come to see me if you were winning. He's like, no. What?
We're getting close. to
Then you tell Bean to take
be,
over.
okay.
No, you know, obviously the Freedom Caucus has used the rules to keep anything from happening.
Yeah.
Are there rule changes to be made that might help solve some of this, or is it just a personnel
You know,
problem?
no one is very supportive of changing the rules. I mean, the Senate is an institution that has run and operated the same way for a long time. And the power of the Senate is that each senator has equal power. And if you change the rules, you start to take away that power. And you become more like the House, where everything is top down. And people don't want to do that. So, you know, it would be nice to, we've thought about changing it to where we could at least get a bill on the floor, and then if you don't like the bill and you want to stand up, fine. You know, what happens sometimes is they filibuster the journal reading, like today. But I don't know. We're kind of reluctant to change the rules because we have people who can't behave. You hate to change an institution when it's really the people in there that, you know, change the people, would be my thinking. Yeah.
Senator, changing the subject to school choice, a lot of the rural superintendents are opposed to that. Realistically, how does it impact rural districts when they don't really have anywhere else to go? Students, that is.
Well, here's my experience. You know, I visited probably 35 schools, and way back in the day, I was on the school board. And at that time, they were doing things that I thought, I don't think this will work out. This will not be good for the kids. Like sight reading, you know, letting phonics go, and if you recognize the word, that's how you learn to read. I'm like, how does that work? If you've never seen the word, you know, you don't have the tools to figure it out. And math. I can't even get started on that. Which they still use, that weird math where, you know, you do like 400 different steps, and if you do all those steps, even if you don't get the right answer, you get the credit. You know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Well, now we have people that can't do math. So what happens is, I went to a meeting of our superintendents, and I said, when I first got elected, because I said I wanted to run and have school reform. It's not that I don't want good public schools, I do. And I went to that meeting and I said, look, I know you didn't want me to get elected, but I did get elected. And I'm not trying to tear down your public school, but you know, and I know, that there are things happening here that are not working. And all I'm asking is that you work with me. And, you know, they all said they would. Well, I've not gotten one suggestion. I've been here 6 years. The thing about school choice is schools do not have to address the problems they have until you can walk away. And when you can walk away, then it'd be like, you know, if I was the Ford manufacturer and I had the only car you could buy, what would be my incentive to do better? Nothing. Because you wouldn't have any choice. So I think choice gives schools the maybe extra push they need to say, you know, these people could walk away. I mean, even in the rural area, you've got another school within, you know, 20 miles in a lot of places. So I'm absolutely for school choice. And, you know, Carla Esslinger's going to take over DESE. Or did you know that? Sure, you do know that. She's a senator now. She was a superintendent. She's worked for the Federal Department of Education, which, by the way, I don't think we need at all. Education is supposed to be a local thing, but I'm fully supportive of her. Now, do she and I agree on everything? We do not. All I'm asking is that people focus on result. We have got to have good results, and we have spent more money every year, and the outcomes have gotten worse every year. And I think teachers are frustrated, you know, when I was on the school board, I said, why do we had an excellent principal, and I said, you know, we better pay him more, or somebody's gonna take him, because everybody knows everybody where, you know, where we are. And oh my goodness, you would have thought I had suggested bombing the school. And they're like, well, we can't do that. And I said, well, why not? Well, because that'll make the other people jealous. And I'm like, that's crazy. We have a system that wants to treat everybody the same, almost socialist type. And we're supposed to be training people to go out and excel in a capitalist system. Now, how does that work? If you don't even believe in it for yourself. So, you know, if you're an excellent teacher, and I have a lot of good friends that are retired teachers. One in particular I thought was the best teacher I'd ever met. She's up here, and then here's one that's just barely getting across the line. When it comes time for a raise, they both get the same thing. Is this gonna make this person down here try to work harder? It isn't. I mean, eventually this person up here is gonna say, I might as well be all the way down here, because I'm gonna get the same, you know. Trying to say that teachers aren't teaching for the money is absurd. Everybody teaches, everybody goes to work to get paid. I mean, you have bills and, you know, that's crazy. Let's reward excellence instead of, you know, rewarding everything that's average or below. Yes, Echo.
Completely switching gears. Can you just give your thoughts on where you're at with the preservation of the Missouri Sunshine Law? For the last several years, we've seen some bills come forward where some of these legislators are wanting to kind of gut the Sunshine Law or limit access to their communications with their constituents, things like that. Can you kind of take a stand on, you know, where you are with the public's right to know and where Missouri Sunshine Law is now, and if you have any thought about what you'd like to see happen with it in the future?
I have rarely ever been sunshine. I tell people what I think, right, flat out. So, but I would say that I am unusual in this environment here. But I don't have to have this job. And, I think that sometimes there are situations with constituents that you don't want in the local paper. And I think that privacy kind of needs to be protected. Otherwise, we all know that whatever we do, somebody can, you know, write in here and say, you've got to send me everything you have, and then, you know, we have to go through everything we have. So I think that it's an important tool for the public. I'm not aware of any bills being filed this year. Maybe we have like hundreds. Are there some this year?
There are. There's been some changes inside. I think 1720 was one. Is in the House side. Yeah. There's usually things come up, things get added in. You know.
Sorry, you're being inquired of by Senator Heigl.
Well, I am busy, so tell him I'm not important.
You know, as you know, I'm the president of the Missouri Sunshine Coalition.
Oh, I didn't know that. Echoes from my area, so
you know,
we text each other all the time.
When we talk, and I've gotten information. You know, one of the biggest stories we've had this year was a whistleblower story that started out as a communication to you, which was a public document, which we obtained and started an investigation on, and kind of blew the lid off of a local government situation that was not okay. So I mean, really, what I'm looking from you is, you know, where are you with support of public information and people's right to know what their legislators are doing?
Well, I mean, I think the public has the right to know what you're doing, period. The bill sent you to get me?
He's inquired of you, yes.
Tell him I'm not here.
Okay.
Soon the cops will come, then I'll have to go, but until then.
Senator, you can speak as long as you like, because we love
Oh, I know
talking
you
to
gotta
you.
go
No,
anyway,
no,
right?
please, I wanna, if anybody has a couple more questions, we do have to go have lunch with the
I
governor's
know.
mansion.
I'm
But
sorry.
we'd love to stay here and listen to what you
Yeah.
have to say.
Do you want to give any message to your constituents back home? You've got 7 newspapers represented from your area right now. So, I mean, is there any message that you want to say to the people who put you in this office that we can take home with us today?
Don't run for the Senate. Also, if they, I appreciate that they've given me the opportunity to be here, and, they know if they need me, they just text me. They all have my phone number. So, I'm very easy to reach. Some say too easy, but, I think people get very frustrated with government because they think this is a nameless, faceless thing, and nobody will help me, and I call in and nobody answers, or they shift you 14 times and then hang up on you, and I hate that for people, so I just say call. Okay.
Senator Olin, you're probably here because of term limits. Do you think the term limits should be kept? Do you like term limits? Do you think they're good for the legislature?
I think that term limits have created some of the issues that we have here. I mean, you can be here 16 years if you start in the House and go to the Senate. To me, maybe if you can be here 16 years, maybe you should be able to be in whatever combination that you want. And I think that it would cut down on some of the issues that we have. I'm not staying that long because I'm old. I'm about the oldest person in there, but I do think it would cut down on some of the issues. And it does take quite a while to get things figured out, and then you're out. So then that makes people do crazy things, to stay in there, like what we have out here.
All right, to the governor's mansion. You can go all the way down to the basement and out through the garage doors to head over, if that works for you. But let's head over there.